There's a hidden line that separates the ones who command from the ones who comply. Some cross it without realizing, and the moment they do, they're marked. Not because they failed, but because they leaked something far more dangerous. Weakness, but not the kind that cries out or collapses. No, these are the invisible kinds, the ones that wear the costume of virtue. Kindness, humility, emotional openness. And while most people applaud these traits, those who move strategically see something else. They see entry points, access doors, leverage. In every social space, predators aren't looking for enemies. They're looking for emotional openings. And there are 3 specific traits that turn you into a magnet for manipulators. You might think they make you likable, but to a cold mind, they make you easy. And the first one, the most quietly devastating of them all, is this: the need to be understood. The need to be understood seems harmless. It even feels noble. After all, who doesn't want to be seen for who they really are, to feel validated, to be heard without interruption? But here's the Machiavellian truth. The more you try to explain yourself, the more power you leak. Every clarification you offer is an unspoken confession. I need you to see me correctly in order to feel okay. You've just handed the other person the emotional steering wheel. They don't even need to control you directly. All they have to do is misunderstand you on purpose. Watch what happens. You'll start chasing. You'll correct them. You'll vent. You'll overshare. And every word you spill becomes a blueprint to your inner world. Now they know exactly how to bend you. They don't need to push. They just have to withhold approval, and you'll twist yourself to earn it back. That's not authenticity. That's submission, dressed in emotional honesty. Machiavelli would argue that true power begins where emotional transparency ends, not because emotion is weakness, but because exposure is. When people can read you like an open book, they can write your next chapter. The moment your inner world becomes visible, your fears, your desires, your triggers, you're no longer in control of the narrative. Others are. They decide which parts to affirm and which to exploit. And here's where most people fall. They believe that by being open, they earn respect. But in reality, the more someone can predict you, the more they can manipulate you. Power thrives in ambiguity. Mystery breeds caution. When they don't know what you're thinking, they tread lightly. When they can't decode your silence, they fill it with their own anxiety. So if you want to stop being a target, start by removing your need to be understood. Let them guess. Let them project. Let your presence say everything while your mouth says nothing. That doesn't mean you suppress your emotions or become stone. It means you train your nervous system to survive without external validation. It means you stop leaking truth just because the room feels uncomfortable with your silence. Most people can't handle that. They fidget. They over-explain. They fill gaps with nervous laughter, with soft tones, with justifications like, "What I meant was..." But each of those reflexes is a confession. Please don't misjudge me. And once that pattern is seen, it's easy to control. The antidote: discipline your presence. Speak with weight, not speed. Respond with pauses, not panic. Let your facial expressions default to neutral, not performance. A steady gaze, a level chin, and silence that stretches a few seconds longer than expected. That's what shifts the dynamic. Suddenly, you're not the one trying to be understood. You've flipped the script. They're now trying to understand you, and that shift alone puts you back in control. The second weakness is far more common and far more defended because most people confuse it with morality. It's the fear of being seen as bad. From the moment you're born, you're trained to avoid it. Don't be rude. Don't be selfish. Don't hurt feelings. Be polite. Be agreeable. Be good. And so, without even realizing it, you begin to calibrate your every move to protect your image. Not your character, your image. The fear isn't about doing wrong. It's about being perceived as wrong. That fear turns you into a puppet, because now anyone who wants to move you just has to dangle disapproval in front of your face. A disappointed tone, a passive-aggressive comment, a fake gasp. "I didn't expect that from you." And you'll cave, you'll soften, you'll apologize, not for something wrong, but for being unwilling to play their emotional game. And that's all it takes to be controlled. Not physical chains, just the fear of being disliked. Machiavelli would say, if you must choose between being loved or feared, choose fear. Not because cruelty is the goal, but because dependence on approval is a leash. The person who rises is not the one everyone likes. It's the one who can be disliked without losing composure. The one who can be called arrogant, selfish, even heartless, and not flinch, because when your identity no longer depends on being seen as good, no one can blackmail you with guilt. Try this. Next time someone tries to guilt you for setting a boundary, don't defend, don't explain, just say, "That's your opinion." Then go silent. Watch how fast the pressure dies when it no longer affects you. Power isn't loud, it's calm, it's quiet, it's stillness under fire. When people realize you won't shatter at the sound of disapproval, they stop firing shots. Not because you fought back, but because your indifference made them realize there's no leverage here. And now we arrive at the third and most dangerous weakness, the one that keeps you trapped in emotional cages long after the door is open. It's not fear, it's not insecurity, it's the addiction to peace. Most people walk through life believing that peace is the ultimate achievement. They avoid tension like it's poison. They dodge confrontation. They suppress their voice. They say it's fine when it's not, all in the name of keeping things smooth. But Machiavelli would call this what it truly is, strategic cowardice. Because while you're busy maintaining surface-level harmony, others are using that space to gain control. They test your limits, they disrespect your time, they drain your energy, and you let them, not because you're weak, but because you can't handle the discomfort that comes with standing your ground. Peace, when pursued blindly, doesn't make you noble. It makes you available for exploitation. Look at history. Every major shift, every revolution, every rise to power was born in conflict, not calm. Empires weren't built through politeness. They were forged through fire. And Machiavelli understood something most people still resist. Tension is not the enemy. It is the test, the battlefield, where authority is either claimed or lost. If you crumble every time a room gets uncomfortable, you'll never hold space in it. But the one who remains still when others squirm, the one who can sit in silence during chaos, who doesn't need to fix the discomfort, becomes the unshakable center of gravity. You don't need to start fights. You just need to stop avoiding them. The goal isn't violence. It's resilience. When others see that drama doesn't move you, that emotional pressure doesn't change your posture, they begin to back off. Not because you demanded peace, but because they finally realized you're no longer the one who will sacrifice your self-respect to keep it. So how do you break the addiction to peace? You build conflict stamina. You do things that stretch your nervous system. Say no without explanation. Disagree publicly without softening your tone. Delay your response instead of rushing to smooth things over. Let the tension sit and just watch. Watch how your body wants to fix it. Watch how people wait for you to cave, and then don't. Stay firm, still, collected. Over time, something powerful happens. Your presence no longer signals availability, it signals certainty, and people start adjusting themselves to you instead of the other way around. You're no longer the buffer. You're the boundary, the one who doesn't chase resolution, but allows discomfort to do its job. Reveal. Because when you stop trying to hold everything together, you see who falls apart. And that, Machiavelli would argue, is when your real strength begins, not in silence that hides weakness, but in stillness that commands it. Once you strip away these three invisible weaknesses, the craving to be understood, the fear of being disliked, and the need to keep the peace, you stop living on defense. You stop explaining. You stop bending. You stop handing out pieces of yourself in exchange for comfort. And in that absence, something shifts. People look at you differently. They pause before interrupting you. They weigh their words more carefully. Not because you've become aggressive, but because you've become unreadable. And unreadable people are unpredictable. They're harder to categorize, harder to corner, harder to control. You stop being a person to be managed and become a presence to be respected. This isn't about being cold for attention. It's about reclaiming the emotional territory you gave away too easily for too long. And once that space is yours again, you don't need to fight for power. You carry it, quietly, steadily, and without asking for permission. But make no mistake, this transformation isn't just theoretical. It's tested in real time, under pressure, when people try to provoke you, when silence gets awkward, when disapproval enters the room. That's where your real patterns surface, not in what you believe, but in what you default to. Machiavelli would say, anyone can sound powerful in private thoughts, but true power reveals itself when your pulse quickens, when eyes are on you and you don't flinch. People are always watching, especially when you're not performing. They watch how quickly you smile when insulted, how fast you soften when challenged, how eager you are to re-explain yourself when misunderstood. And all of that reveals one thing, how safe it is to use you. That's how predators choose targets, not based on your strength, but your signaling. And every emotional leak, every nervous laugh, every rushed explanations, it's a flare in the dark that says, this one's pliable. Machiavelli wouldn't just tell you to be strong, he'd tell you to erase the signals of weakness altogether. Stop smiling to reduce tension. Stop rushing to reply. Stop softening your words with phrases like, I didn't mean it like that, or sorry if that came off the wrong way. Each of those is a quiet surrender. You think you're being polite. What you're really doing is asking not to be punished, and that makes you predictable. Predictability is a predator's playground. The fix? Train your body to move slower. Speak with weight, not eagerness. Don't fill silences, hold them. Don't correct misunderstandings, let them linger. When someone can't read your mood, can't tell whether you're pleased or insulted, they step more carefully. Not because you've demanded respect, but because you've stopped performing for it. Your restraint becomes your pressure. Your silence becomes your presence, and suddenly you are not reacting to the room is reacting to you. This isn't a game of appearances, it's a complete rewiring of your internal settings. When you stop trying to be liked, stop needing to be validated, and stop avoiding discomfort, something inside you hardens, but not in a bitter way, in a sovereign way. You become self-contained, immune to guilt traps, immune to flattery, immune to the social pressure that once shaped every word you said. And people will feel that difference. They'll hesitate before overstepping. They'll think twice before demanding your energy. You're not louder. You're just less available, less easy to move, less obvious. And in a world filled with people leaking their insecurities with every blink, smile, and apology, you stand out, not as cold, but as contained. People don't fear you because you're aggressive. They fear you because they can't find the handle to pull you. You're no longer responding. You're defining the room without saying a word. And that's when something rare happens. People stop trying to manage you and start orbiting around you, not because you demanded attention, but because your detachment has made you the axis, the fixed point in a sea of emotional overreach. You're not defending your value anymore. You're not performing your worth. You've become the standard by which others measure their own behavior. That's the Machiavellian endgame. Not domination, but gravitational authority. You become the one who doesn't chase, doesn't explain, doesn't flinch. But somehow everything revolves around you. The one whose silence carries more weight than someone else's speech. The one whose presence alone alters the tone of a room. And when others realize they can't predict or provoke you, they start treating you not as prey, but as something entirely different. a risk, a mirror, a mystery. And that is the safest, most powerful position you can occupy. So let this be the shift. The moment you stop performing for approval and start operating from principle, from clarity, from stillness. The world doesn't need more people who seek to be understood. It needs more people who are untouchable, unmoved, unapologetically self-possessed. When you release the three chains, needing to be understood, fearing being disliked and clinging to peace, you walk into every room differently. Your words carry weight because they're rare. Your silence becomes expensive. Your presence becomes authority, not through force, but through discipline. This isn't about pretending to be powerful. It's about removing everything that ever made you easy to manipulate. And once you've done that, no one owns you. No one controls you. You're not the puppet. You're not the prey. You're the force they can't read, the standard they can't move. And in a world addicted to attention, validation, and noise, you've become something far more dangerous, the quietest threat in the room.